How do you automate your administration to find more time for revenue-producing activities? Welcome to Tea at Taxevity, where you get insights from insiders who make life better, our many clients and friends. My name is Pramod Sharma, and our guest today is Dwayne Richards. Welcome, Dwayne.
Thanks, Pramod.
Now, Dwayne, when you're not being interviewed, what do you do?
My background actually is a CMA. Now we're merged into CPA, so as a professional accountant. I live here in Etobicoke, a father of two young boys, so a balance of being a business owner, a consulting practice, as well as a family father, trying to do that work-life balance.
Yes, and that's a challenge for most of us. And so when you are working, what sort of work do you do?
Yeah, so it's really building a consulting practice now around your CFO for hire, helping small businesses, entrepreneurs, with sort of being that financial advisor or financial resource to them, and when they may not be able to afford a full-time CFO, but they already have an accountant, they already have a tax person, but it's really to help them with the operations side of their business.
Okay, and we're going to be talking about ways that businesses can find more time to generate revenue. What sort of activities consume time in a business?
So some of the coaching that I've gotten recently from my mentors is really that there's three different types of activities. There's time wasting activities, there's business building activities, and then there's revenue producing activities.
Okay, so let's explore each of those in turn. Let's start with the time wasting activities.
Time wasting activities is a great one. Everything that sort of sucks up your time. I think sometimes you think you're being productive, but it's counterproductive. So a quick example would be Facebook. Unless your business is actually generating money on Facebook, your activities there are really time wasting. So liking and friending and following. It's nice to be connected, but it's really to sort of set a lot of time. Today I'm going to assign 5 minutes, 10 minutes, half an hour, but you can quickly get down in the rabbit hole and you could eat up 3 hours and you really didn't generate any money.
Okay, now does LinkedIn fall into the time wasting, or is that in a different category?
It still could be a time wasting if you don't have the idea would to have an intention or a purpose or part of your marketing plan to say which one of the social media platforms is part of your marketing plan, and your marketing plan would be your business building activity. And if it fits into your plan, then again, within a allotted amount of time, but again, you need to go in there with a purpose and an intention, and not just you think because it's a professional platform, it still can be a time-wasting activity.
Okay, and let's talk about business building. What can you tell us about that?
Business building is sort of that busy work that people sort of get the myth that okay, I'm really busy and I'm working on my business, but you're working sort of in your business, not really on your business. So example of a business building activity would be a networking event where you go to a lunch or an evening social event, and you go there and you're being visible, you're sort of marketing yourself, and you have your message of what you're offering. But unless you're going there with a product or a service to really offer, to have a call to action, even, it can really be sort of more of a business building activity.
Okay, yeah, because networking is important in a business, but sometimes all you end up with are business cards.
Yeah, I had that same challenge that sort of you look back and I was actually in the business of collecting business cards, that you didn't actually have a sequence or logical set of steps on follow up, and like they say, the follow up, the key is to the sales process is the follow up, and to have a system and a procedure on doing that follow up.
Okay, and what about revenue producing activities?
So revenue producing is simply what it says. It's activities that produce revenue, and there may be multiple forms of it. So one way to actually transfer a networking event from a business building into revenue producing is actually going to and actually becoming the guest speaker. So if you're actually or if someone's actually paying you to speak, so you're charging a small fee to speak. Well, now that same event you're actually getting paid, and it's a revenue producing. Or if you have the opportunity to do a presentation from stage, which could be a business building, but if you have that call to action or able to make an offer and sell something from the stage, well then also that becomes a revenue producing activity if someone buys.
Okay, so there can be overlap, but that's a really good point, that networking is a lot better if you're on the stage, because then you're the expert and people are looking to you. And if you have got something that you can sell there, then even better.
Right. And again, it's all about having a clear intention of what your end goal is with that event. Is it to generate leads? If it is to generate leads, to make sure that you have mechanisms in place to capture the leads of your audience.
Okay, now does business building break down into sub-elements?
Yeah, so what we have sort of experience that I recently had in a training exercise was that sort of three different types of activities inside of the business. So if we look at production, so either producing a product or a service, there's the sales and marketing side of the business, and then there's the operations or the administrative side of the business. So there's those three kind of get split between the two, between business building activity and revenue producing activities.
Okay.
So really any of the three can fall into the two categories, not to make it too confusing. But if we go through some examples, we can sort of explain on how the three sort of relate to the two main activities of your business.
Okay. Okay, so we've got the three different categories: the time-wasting activities, the business building, and the revenue producing. Do you have a sense of where time goes, typical allocations, and what ideal allocations would be?
Yeah, so recently I did an exercise at a training event, and they sort of said, did sort of the triangle to sort of say, okay, we have three different types of activities in your business. You have production or services of either services or products. You have sort of the administration or the operations side of the business, and you have sales and marketing. So Adam Markel, one of the things that he said is you have a product and service here, and then you have and you sell it for more money over here.
Okay.
And it's that balance between the two, and in between is your administration to sort of say how do you move from one to the other, and you break it down into in a triangle, and you sort of balance the time. So we did this exercise, and lots of people put actually the inverse. So they're spending roughly 40% in production, 40% in admin, and then only 20% in sales and marketing.
Oh, okay.
And really the ideal situation, or the standard should actually be sort of the inverse. Should actually be between 10 and 20% in production, 10 to 20% in administration, and then between 60 to 80% in sales and marketing activities.
Okay, and in order to change the allocation of time, if there are elements that we can automate, then that helps. So when it comes to the administration side, are there things that we can do to reduce the amount of time that goes there? Right.
So again, it's really to sort of say, what are you, you and your business? If you're the key person, it's the sales and marketing is where you want to be spending your time, not so much on the transactional. So when we talk about automate your admin, there's different tools, services, mentoring, coaching, training to help with that process, to sort of look at that, where people are maybe spending 40% of their time, how do we get it down to 20 to 10? And really everybody has the same amount of 24 hours in the day. It's just how do we use them more efficiently?
Well, one of the areas that seems to chew up a lot of time, though I don't really know how, is just booking appointments. Is there a way to do that better?
There certainly is. Again, as a quick, two easy examples. Again, once we get over that mind of sort of how do you have to spend $1 to make $1, but there's less expensive options or free options. So one option is if you have a website, you can actually put in the add-on to do a automatic scheduler, so that someone goes to your website, you can put in your calendar, your hours of operation, and then they can actually book an online appointment with you. In which case, that's sort of you may think it's not quite as personal, but it can be more efficient so that you can actually get the appointment booked. A second option would be hiring a virtual admin, where you actually have a different phone number someone calls and books that appointment with either an automated attendant or an actual person, but it's not you, and you're able to sort of focus on that, just the booking of an appointment, in which case it becomes a 5 to 10 minute activity versus sort of someone calling you and all of a sudden it becomes a coaching session online, and that wasn't really the intent of the phone call. The phone call was to book the appointment.
Right, and sometimes there can be a lot of back and forth, whether it's phone calls or emails, and if that appointment can simply be booked, that's more efficient. So we found that for these interviews, for instance, we've automated the system so that people can arrange a time for an interview without us having to have a lot of interaction, and that saves a lot of mental stress or time, just because we don't have to worry about all those details now.
Yeah, and it worked really well for myself because I was able to do it anytime. Like, again, I can do business building activities later in the evening, so I was able to go online after 5 o'clock and book this appointment. I didn't necessarily have to allocate my time, my revenue producing hours, to doing business building activities. So I was able to book an appointment with you any time of day without having to worry about, okay, what time's an appropriate time to call you. I can just book it online. So it worked really well for, as an example.
Okay, so for automation, we've got the appointment scheduling. Is there something else that we can do to automate our administration?
Yeah, I guess the other step would be sort of once you have that appointment, or once you have clients, or you're meeting, you're not even clients, but still prospects or leads. It's how do you manage it? So the one of the acronyms is a CRM, which really becomes sort of a contact relationship management system. So lots of people, when you start out, you're using Outlook or using Gmail, and that's an email system, but it's not really a system to manage the relationship or nurture the relationship. And again, there's several products out there that aren't very expensive that can be implemented to sort of manage the relationships.
Okay, but right now, if I'm using Outlook or Gmail, then that's free. And if I'm using a CRM, then there's usually a charge. What am I getting that I need that I can't get with my email system?
Yeah, so really it's the next step, or it's the additional functionality. Just as a quick example, I use Nimble, which allows me to connect their 4 or 5 different social profiles into one sort of spot. So I can look up your contact, and I get your Twitter feed. I can see your LinkedIn profile. I can see your Facebook profile. Okay. And I can do all that communication in one spot without trying to sort of struggle. I don't have to go to Twitter, and I don't have to go to Facebook and LinkedIn. I can do it in one central cloud-based system, which again allows me to be able to do that from any computer as long as I have an internet connection.
Okay, and so that is saving time rather than having to go and see if I've done anything on LinkedIn or Twitter, etc. It looks like you've been paying attention when it's really your system that has been helping out.
Yeah, the system's helped out, but I still pay attention. But for example, I could have logged in this morning before I came here, and I could have gotten sort of your last 5 social posts. So then when we meet, I have some material to start the conversation and being authentic as well. But I really did have an interest in what you're doing. I'm just making it more efficient by having a system help me with those feeds.
Yeah, because I use a CRM also, same sort of capabilities, and it's really handy to have everything in one place, because sometimes with email, it's scattered all over the place. But when you use a CRM system, then all the emails that we've exchanged are nicely organized in one spot, and it'll say the last time we contacted each other, etc. And it just saves time to have everything in one location.
Right. I guess the biggest challenge for small businesses is that the cost. And really, for some of these programs, you can start with the free version and sort of test it out while you're for less than 1,000 contacts. Lots of these systems are free, or you don't necessarily get the full functionality, but you can get 80% of the functionality, which is it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be good enough.
Right, because in the past, I remember with CRM systems, you had to enter so much into them, but now that they're cloud-based, they seem to pull in information for you. So for instance, if someone has changed their job, then you might get a notification because the system has been monitoring on your behalf.
Exactly, and it's really to sort of get away from, there's some data entry still, but it's entering the data once. And again, having that system talk to the other one so you're not entering data 3 or 4 times.
Is there anything else that we can automate?
Yeah, so again, we kind of stepped through from a logical sequence of sort of you generating the lead, now sort of you're nurturing the lead, and then when they become a customer, we can start looking at sort of where, I guess technically where my expertise as an accountant is some sort of accounting software. Okay,
so would you suggest something cloud-based there also?
Again, a cloud-based, but sometimes it's a logical sequence or steps. So some people start out with just a paper system, buy a ledger book from Staples. Then people move to Excel. So it's okay, I'm going to build my own spreadsheet, But we say, well, why? Again, we're getting into sort of almost time-wasting activities that you think are business-building activities. To say there are some great companies out there that have produced some fantastic software that's free to a small monthly subscription. So as an example, there's a company based here in Toronto, Wave, and they actually offer their package for free. Now you say, well, why do they offer it for free? Well, there's there's maybe some advertising on the sides. So there's a different revenue model, but again, there's about building a tool for small businesses to help them out, to make them more successful. The next sequence would be something like FreshBooks, that for as little as $25 a month, you can have a subscription, cloud-based software that it then starts to really automate your admin. One quick example would be their time tracking into their invoicing system. So you can put in your hours. From there, once your hours are in, you literally hit the button, say generate invoice. It generates an invoice. It actually emails it to your customer, and then it gives your customer the option to do either PayPal or a merchant service, a credit card payment, in which case you've just automated your whole cash flow process.
It looks like there are a lot of ways that people can save time then and then do things that are more productive in their businesses.
Exactly, and it's really to sort of, in a way, sort of get out of that comfort zone that we get comfortable doing transactional things because it's, you balance your checkbook and you can do transactions and you feel it's great at the end of the day. I've accomplished something because you've checked things off the checklist. But it's really to sort of step out of that comfort zone to say, if my comfort zone wasn't networking or wasn't selling, but if I'm not going to be in, it's sort of what comes first. You need revenue to be in business. So we need to sort of step out of that comfort zone and move more to the selling. And again, if you're doing selling from your story or from being authentic, selling is not a bad word.
Okay, and what's a key message you'd like our audience to get today?
I guess the main message is really to sort of say, whether it's it's your small business, your full-time job, or your full-time what you do for a living, or if it's sort of a pet project or a business on the side, to treat it as a business, not just as a hobby. And by treating it as a business, give yourself the tools that you need to run a business.
Okay, and what's the best way for people to reach you?
Yeah, so I guess there's a couple of different ways. The best, one of the best ways is pick up the phone and call. It's like, as much as we like
a phone
call, why not? It's a novel concept. I can say, I do have a website, so it's right now the website is DwayneRichards.com. But you better just pick up the phone and call and have that conversation, and don't get lost in sort of the social media or in the email basket. So my phone number is 416-859-5865, and really just pick up the phone. So many people are think, oh, that's kind of weird, but
I guess
get right to the point that way.
Okay, well, thanks for dropping by.
Great, thank you.
Thanks for joining us for Tea at Taxevity. The Taxevity Insurance Advisory helps you understand insurance and bridges gaps in your coverage. There's no premium for peace of mind. How healthy is your insurance?